And share my screen. All right, so before we begin, I just kind of want to get a pulse with everyone on the call. Like, have you guys actually gone out and used the Power VP app yet? And I'm sure some of you have probably used it to run a soft pull credit, but are you guys actually using the app yet? Or is today your very first introduction to it?
I've not used it yet.
Okay, fair enough. So that's what I figured.
Used it a couple times.
Okay. So, you know, I know your group came in with Encompass experience. Our initial week 1 training tends to focus on how do I move a loan from A to Z within Encompass, which is critical because if there's one thing we need you to know how to do in your first week, it is how to manufacture a loan using Encompass. But probably the biggest single complement to Encompass that we have in our entire suite of technology is going to be Power VP. And the more and more you use it, the less and less you're going to find that you actually need to be in Encompass. So Power VP is, if there was just kind of a nutshell description of it, it is our mobile loan officer app. So it's our mobile app that allows loan officers to do almost their entire job, no matter where they are at any time, whether they're in front of a laptop or not. But one takeaway that I want you to take away from this call is that Power VP is also not just a phone app. It is also a desktop app that allows you to do most of the work that you're currently going into Encompass to do, but you can actually do it faster because it's in a really quick-moving web-based form. The interface is really slick, very, very user-friendly, very intuitive. I think you guys are really going to like it here. So let's start things off with the bare bones basics. How do I access the app? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. From your laptop, if you go to your Okta menu, anybody who is licensed will have a tile in their apps for Power VP. If you just click on that, as long as you are logged into Zscaler and authenticated in Okta, if I click on it, or if you're in one of our offices and you're hardwired in, like I am here at our corporate office, I can just type in sales.rate.com. It pulls me right in. So again, for the mobile or for the desktop app, you can go to Okta and hit the tile, or as long as you're fully authenticated, you can just type in sales.rate.com up in your browser and it'll pull it up. Now for the mobile app, for anybody that doesn't have the mobile app yet, if you log on to our intranet and go to the Resource Center, and in the search box, just search Power VP. The very first page that'll pop up is right here, which I refer to as our Power VP landing page. And I'm going to drop a link for this page into the chat. So when you go to this page, right at the top, we've got 2 QR codes. One on the left is for iPhone. The one on the right is for Android. If you want to just go ahead and scan that QR code with your phone, it'll take you right to the App Store, where you can then go ahead and download the app and get it installed on your phone. Now, whether you're using Power VP from your phone or you're using it from your laptop, the functionality is exactly the same. Now, the layout, and let me just close this window out of the way really quickly. The layout is slightly different, whether you're using it on your phone or on your computer. Because when I'm on my computer, I'm on a wide screen, whereas when I'm on my phone, I'm on a tall, skinny screen. So let me just show you what it looks like when I am in my phone. But the functionality is exactly the same. So as you can see, it's stacked. This is what it looks like when you're on your phone. It's stacked a little bit different, but all of the tiles are there. All the functionality is exactly the same. So for the purpose of today's demo, I'm going to show it to you in the desktop version. But again, everything I'm doing here, you can do from your phone at any point, anywhere, and at any time. So when you log on into Power VP, this is kind of like the main landing page of how it looks. And as you can see, there's 5 blue tiles on here: start a loan, price and pull rates, create and send pre-approval letters, edit loans, or check status. The one of these tiles that I kind of want to focus on is starting a loan. So let's click on this. To start a new lead in Power VP, all you need is the borrower's name, email, and phone number. So let me just start a loan really quickly. And I promise I'm not going to make you guys watch me do a bunch of data entry today. So when I created this lead, there's a couple boxes that are, as you notice, this send digital mortgage invite box is already checked. If I just click create lead and that box is checked, it's going to push an email out to the client, and I can show you what the email looks like. Give me just 1 second. They are going to get this email. It says, hey, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. Click this link to begin your digital mortgage application. Once the client clicks that link, from that point forward, their experience, their digital mortgage experience is exactly the same as if they hit that apply now button in your signature, or if you just sent them a direct link to your website. So you might be saying, all right, well, why would I go through the trouble to send this invite for them to click a link? Why would I not just tell them to hit the apply now button in my signature, or text them a link to my website? Well, the reason why I like to invite clients to apply through Power VP is because this also becomes a lead tracking system where I can keep track of who I've invited and who's actually applied. So if I go over to my pipeline and go into my active folders, I can then track filter. All right, who has? Let me pull this down. Who have I sent invitations? Who have I sent invitations to? Who has opened that invitation? Who has started their digital mortgage application? Who has actually completed their digital mortgage application? I know right now we're in kind of an environment with our volume where you probably know exactly how many invites you've sent out in a day, who's opened it, who's started it, who's requested. But when things get busy, and if anyone has been paying attention to financial news, things may get busy here in the second half of the year if we see a drop in rates. Sometimes you're sending 5, 6, 7 of these things out a day. This is just a way of keeping track of who you've invited to start the application, who's actually started it, and who's actually completed it. So that's why I like using it as my means to get people onto the digital mortgage platform. So in addition to starting new loans here, something else that's really great about it really early on in this process is maybe you need to get some numbers out to a client. And like we've all get these phone calls from time to time. It's client that goes, hey, I'm not gonna fill out an application. I'm not even gonna give you my social security number. I just want to know what's your rate, and can you send me a fee sheet? All right, well, I can get numbers to a client literally in about 3 minutes. Even if I don't even have an Encompass file, I can put together a fee sheet together for them, get it together in a matter of minutes. So if I go to this price pool rates tile right here in the middle, it's going to say, is this a pricing scenario for an existing loan or a new loan? So if I click new, I can go ahead and just do the data entry here. It's basically I'm plugging in all the parameters that I would need to pull pricing out of Encompass, or I'm sorry, out of Optimal Blue. I'm not going to make you guys watch me do the data entry to fill this out. So let me back this up, and I'll just pull it from an existing client, just so I have all of his data entry already completed. Okay, so if I just go through, plug in my loan amount, my rate, or plug in my loan amount, my LTV, my value. I can enter property taxes, but then I can also add attributes like did the borrower have military service? Are they a first-time home buyer? If I'm looking for an affordable product, make sure down on the bottom I enter the subject property address so that it can pull the geocoding for that product. I'm not triggering RESPA by adding this. All I'm doing is adding an address for the purpose of doing a price search. So go ahead and hit search. Give this just a second to load here. And here we go. So it's going to pull up all of the available products based on the parameters that I plugged in. So if I want to see what products did not show up as eligible, up at the top, I've got these little toggles. Like if I go to ineligible, it's going to pull up all of the products that are ineligible. And if I expand it up, it'll explain why it's ineligible, just like you see in Optimal Blue. So like, for example, this Fannie Mae high balance, it's ineligible because I plugged in a $500,000 loan. It's not a high balance loan by definition. So let's toggle back to our eligible products. So when you're looking at the products, they're going to be stacked based on which product is pricing it has the most aggressive pricing to the least aggressive pricing. And the rate that you're seeing is going to be your lowest rate based on your par price. Now, obviously, you don't always just want to see or quote the par rate. So to open up the full pricing grid, if you click on the blue rate next to any of the products, and I'll just choose a Fannie Mae 30, for example. And by the way, I'm using a test account, so don't worry about the actual rates that you're seeing. So if I click on that blue rate, that's going to pull up the full pricing grid. And what I like about doing this in Power VP is when you're looking at the full pricing grid, you can have it displayed with the in points, just like you do in OB right now. But what I really like is I've got this little toggle switch up at the top. I can switch that to cost. And I can say, all right, well, if you don't want to pay any points today, I'm at 6.9. But if you want to pay $2,700, I can get you down to 6.55. I know you guys have been doing this a long time. You guys can convert points to dollars like the back of your hand. This just saves you from the time the time and effort of actually pulling out a calculator and actually crunching the numbers to calculate these points down to the dollar. So to me, this is something that I think is really slick and really great about Power VP is you've just got that toggle switch to do the math for you. So similar to OB, when you find the rate, both the lock period and the rate that you want, simply click on the price, and then I'll hit select pricing, and then I'll add it to my loan. Give this just a second. Whenever I do bigger calls, everything runs a little bit slower on Power VP. I've noticed that's a trend. If I've got 20 odd people or more on the call, it's chewing up with just the broadcast chews up a little bit of my bandwidth. But if I'm doing this just at my desk by myself, it actually runs amazingly fast. Okay. So now I've got these scenarios pulled up. So now I want to get some I've priced out a scenario. I want to get some numbers to a client. So to share, to put together a fee sheet, or what we call a loan summary here at Citywide, all I need to do is click this share button. And this is the scenario I just ran, this Fannie 30. And let's say I want to put numbers together for a client. I want to show them what a conventional option looks like, and maybe also an FHA, or maybe I want to show them a 30 or a 15. You can run as many scenarios as you want, and I can actually add up to 3 on the same fee sheet for the client to run. So I actually ran an FHA scenario just before the call started. So I'm going to show them a 30, a Fannie, and an FHA scenario. And now I'm going to click Preview Loan Summary. And here we go. We've got both those products side by side. The fees all of the costs that you're showing on here flooded in directly the same as if you were to hit that pool fees button within Encompass. And as you can see, it literally, even while I'm doing a demo and talking through it on the call, took me about 2 minutes to put together a fee sheet based off of my pricing and Optimal Blue and all the fees that I pulled in from pool fees. Now, if you want to edit that loan summary before you send it out to the client, simply click on your scenario. And if I want to edit the PITI or edit the cash to close, I can do so here. Now, this is kind of a theme within Power VP. Anytime you see something that's in blue, that means you can click on it and expand it out to more functionality. So if I click on the blue PITI of 2949, I can then edit, go in and edit my taxes, edit my insurance. Maybe I need to add an HOA due. Or for the cash to close, if I want to go edit those fees that were pulled in, I can click on the cash to close. And maybe I need to add an attorney fee, or maybe I want to drop down that owner's fee to that owner's title, $100, whatever it is, whatever I'm doing. I can go in and make my edits to the edits to the PITI here. And if I want to write this scenario back over to my Encompass file, if I click activate, that will actually turn this scenario into my active scenario and actually write this scenario back into my Encompass file. I will say, unless you want that file, unless you want to update the scenario that's in Encompass, stay out of that activate button. If I don't hit the activate button, it's just going to live as a scenario that I priced out over to the left here. It's only if I activate it that it's actually going to write back to Encompass. So let's from this point forward, let's just kind of pretend that for the sake of the demo, let's just pretend that we went ahead, we invited Andy America to apply, and at this point, Andy America clicked my link, he completed the digital mortgage. At this point, I want to go ahead and review his application just like I would normally be doing in Encompass. All right, well, first things first, I can go to the application and I can review and edit and tidy up that application just like I normally would when someone applies online. So like maybe I go in and I review his income. It looks like he's making pretty good money, but it's not quite what I need. And I need to add some additional income. All right, well, I can click add income. Maybe he's got, I don't know, maybe he's got some child support or something that I need to add. And I can add it here. Flip side of that is maybe I'm going through, I'm looking at his assets and it's like, well, this guy added 5 different accounts. He's got 500 grand in his checking account. I don't need to see his Schwab account or whatever it is. Well, I could go through and I could remove those other assets. So all of the like tidying up that you normally do in an Encompass file, you can do it here. But as you can see, I'm actually doing it a lot faster than I can do it in Encompass because I'm not clicking on that like show all VOL, show all VOD, opening and saving those. This is a web-based form. It's happening very, very quickly. If you need to tidy up the liabilities, manipulate the liabilities, like maybe I need to mark something to be paid off or to be excluded, I can do all that here. I can add the real estate owned. Very, very, very easy to do and very quick. If I need to add a second borrower to my application, like maybe the app came in with just the husband, now I need to add the wife to get the DTI in line, or vice versa. If I click this little person with the plus sign that says add, I can then add an additional borrower to this profile or to this application. Once I've reviewed the app, I can go in, I can check out the credit report that the borrower ran. If the borrower ran their credit as part of their online app, you'll see their score here, and you can actually review the credit report from here as well. So if I click see report, it's going to pull up a PDF of that credit report within the app. Now, if when the client applies online, by default, that application is going to run a soft pull credit report. If you want to upgrade that soft pull report to a hard pull, I can do it right here as well. Or if they just didn't get to the stage where they ran credit, I can click the pull credit tab, and then I have my option. Am I doing a soft pull or am I doing a hard tri-merge? So you can either run credit or you can upgrade that credit report that was previously run directly out of the app. Once I have run credit, tidied up the app, everything's looking good up at the top. At this point, I'm ready to zip out a pre-approval to the client. So at this point, I can pop down to my pre-approval tab. And I'll just go ahead and add a new pre-approval. And it's asking, am I using existing pricing or am I going to add new? My active scenario on this file is expired. So I'm just going to do a new scenario. It's going to make me run pricing just because we do include interest rates, APRs, all that on our pre-approval letters. So it's going to make me price this out again. I'm just going to choose a Fannie 30 at my par rate just to make it quick. This actually does take a moment to load. It is generating that pre-approval right now. Give this just a moment. I know it feels like I'm staring. It literally only takes about 45 seconds to a minute to generate the letter, but it's kind of like when you're microwaving a burrito, like, that 45 seconds to a minute in the microwave feels like an eternity. All right, so at this point I got a pop-up. It says, do you want to run AUS to generate this letter? This is the part of the journey where I can actually run AUS on a conventional file while I am inside a Power VP. So again, I'm still in the pre-approval workflow. I'm using a fake loan with a fake credit report, so I'm not going to run AUS. Sometimes I get some errors when I do it, but this is the point of the process where you would be able to run AUS, even if you were out and about and standing in a parking lot on your phone. But for the purpose of the demo, I'm going to skip running AUS, and I am going to generate a new pre-approval letter. And your letters will be branded with the Citywide logo up at the top. When you're looking at this pre-approval letter, you have two options. You can either display it with all the loan info in the header, or I can go to the footer, and it kind of changes it to a little bit more of a generic letter where it just says you're pre-approved for 500,000. Whatever format you're doing, just know it's the same info in both letters. It's just, are all the loan details prominently displayed up top, or are they buried in the fine print down at the bottom? When you're ready to send that pre-approval letter out to the client, you just click Save and Share. At that point, the borrower will automatically be CC'd. If you've got their agent's contact info on the tracking screen, you can automatically CC them, or I can just click Add Email. I can CC anybody I want on that letter. There's some canned verbiage in here, like, hey, congrats, you're pre-approved for 500 grand. You can fully customize the messaging that goes out on this email, like pre-approval for Smith Street, whatever you want. You can totally customize the messaging and then send this out, and the email is going to come directly from you, the loan officer. Now, after I've sent a pre-approval out, a lot of people say, all right, what's the next steps? Well, a lot of times I like to go ahead and start collecting docs, or maybe I needed to collect some docs before I was comfortable sending out that pre-approval letter. Maybe client just got a raise, or they just got a new job. I want to take a look at a pay stub. You can actually request and review documents directly through the app as well. So if I go down to borrower tasks, the task list, or the borrower's to-do list that currently lives in YBR and My Account. My Account is what we call the borrower-facing portal where they upload their documents. You can access that that to-do list that the borrower sees in My Account, and actually review and add conditions to it. So if the client applied online, their to-do list is going to be based off of the AUS that was run at the time they applied online. If it wasn't a file that was eligible for AUS, like maybe it was a jumbo or something, they'll just get like a canned condition list of things like pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, things like that. If it was a file that goes through AUS, their to-do list is going to be based off of those AUS findings. And you could go in and review the conditions. Now, you also have the ability, like maybe while you're having your verbal conversation, they're like, hey, just heads up, I just went through a divorce. And you're like, well, I got to see that divorce decree before I can issue this. Well, if you want to request a document from the borrower, simply click Add Task. And we've got pretty much anything you need from a borrower. We've already got the condition for it built out. So like maybe I need, I don't know, copy of a divorce decree. So if I go into credit, click divorce decree. Again, we've got canned verbiage and canned descriptions of these conditions. You can fully edit these as well. So maybe it's like, need the decree and support statement from your second marriage, or whatever it is. You can fully customize the description of it, add it to the task, and now that task is visible on the borrower's to-do list. So one thing I will note though, if you are requesting documents from your borrower, when you're adding a task, if the document I'm requesting is an income document, like we do have the ability to just do custom documents where you can just freeform type what you're looking for. But if you're asking for an income doc, I suggest pulling one of the docs or conditions from the income tab. Or if you need an asset, make sure you're going into assets and selecting it. The reason being is because if I select an income doc, or I select an asset doc, or I select a credit doc, that's going to put it into those pools of income docs, asset docs, credit docs when it gets uploaded to the portal. And when that happens, our AI that reads conditions and starts working to clear conditions, it knows what category of document that is, and it's going to go ahead and start reading it. So if I requested pay stubs and W-2s, our smart underwriting function, and I uploaded it to those tabs, smart underwriter is going to come in and start reviewing that to see if it actually, and crunching the numbers per the Fannie and Freddie guidelines to see if it actually meets the condition that was spit out in AUS. So you do have the ability to freeform to describe all this stuff. But again, if you're requesting one of these documents, request it from the category that you're seeing in the dropdown. That way, when the borrower uploads the doc, the AI already starts working for it. And when you and by the time you pass this thing off to your processor, those docs may have already been reviewed and signed off, and you can get a true, genuine approval out to the client pretty much immediately. Now, that's pretty much the pre-approval workflow. A couple other things I want to highlight. Maybe you have a file in process. What I love about Power VP, and this is for me, this is from a mobile capability standpoint, this is one of my favorite aspects, is just about any data point that you have that you get calls and questions about, you can actually get that status directly out of the app. So for example, we all get the call, probably the most common calls I get from a realtor day in and day out. Hey, was the appraisal ordered? When's the appraisal due? All right, well, I can go over to the collateral tab and be like, oh yeah, we ordered the appraisal on Monday. It looks like the inspection's scheduled for Friday. The report's going to due back on Tuesday. If the report was in and it was reviewed by collateral review, you'll see the collateral approval right here. Or maybe when we're getting close to closing. I know, like I live in Chicago where we have both real estate attorneys, or I'm sorry, agents and attorneys, and you get calls from all of them when you're on the week leading up to closing. So I could go into closing. Hey, when did the wire go out? Have you sent figures to title? Has the package been sent? When did the loan fund yet? Pretty much all the main data points that you get phone calls about, you've got them all right here. And when you need to make a phone call about one of these data points, like maybe the appraisal came in light. Like for me, that's a trigger. I got to call the borrower. I got to call the borrower's agent. I got to call the seller's agent. I got to make a lot of phone calls. Well, rather than going into the Encompass file to see who's associated with that file, we've got these little dot circles over on the left with letters. If I click on those are all the contacts within the file, both external and internal. So I'll just choose one at random. If I click on the buyer's agent, if I click on their phone number, it's going to dial them from, if I'm on my computer, it'll dial them from my Teams. If I'm on my phone, it'll dial them directly from my cell phone. Same thing with the email. If I click on this, it's going to pull up an email to them in my Outlook. If I'm on my computer, if I'm on my cell phone, it's going to pull up an email to them from my email app on my phone. So having this mobile Rolodex, it's a huge time saver because, like I said, pretty much any status you need to know about the file, it's visible right here. And if you need to make a phone call to these guys, their contacts are right here. Todd, I see you got your hands up there. Did you have a question for the group here?
Yes. I was just wondering, so it was from a little bit ago when you ran AUS and then issued the pre-approval. So a lot of agents want property specific pre-approval. So once we send that out, and then let's say they're actually writing an offer on a place and they want it property specific, and let's say that it's for a lower purchase price, do we have to rerun AUS to change that purchase price? And I mean, I'm assuming we can just add the address in the comment line, but to change the amount, do we need to rerun AUS at that point? Or
yeah, you don't need to rerun AUS to reissue that pre-approval. But if you want to change the amount on it, so let's go back to pre-approval, you would just change the purchase price and down payment right here, and then issue it. So you don't necessarily need to rerun AUS on that, but
okay.
Yeah, I could just change, like,
change it to 480 or what? Yeah.
I could enter it there and then change down payment there, and then that'll update the numbers on that pre-approval letter. One thing I do want to note is if you have if it was a power bid where the pre-approval was underwritten, when you send the pre-approval letter out from here, it's going to reflect that. Same thing with AUS. If once you've run AUS, the pre-approval letter that goes out is going to reflect that AUS was run on this file. If you haven't run AUS, it's just kind of that more generic verbiage that floods to the letter there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. And speaking of AUS, if you do want to review the AUS findings, whether they're the AUS that was run from the digital mortgage application, or if you ran AUS directly from the app, you up at the top, underneath AUS, you can actually see where it says the AUS findings. You can click on that and then click on View Full Report. And that'll pull up a PDF of those findings. Now, if this is a file that had where documents were uploaded and the smart underwriter had already reviewed and signed off on some of those docs, you can actually see you would have those like green check marks that you would see like when you're in YBR, if the smart underwriter was able to review and actually sign off on those on the docs. So again, critical when you're requesting docs, you're requesting them from that correct doc category of doc holder. That way, the smart underwriter can start reviewing those docs immediately, right off the bat. And just so you know, if the borrower applies online, when they get that to-do list and they're uploading docs to the to-do list that was generated when they applied online, that'll automatically put it in the correct category for the smart underwriter to start reviewing it as well. One final functionality that I wanted to show you is our screen share functionality. So, while I like to think that our digital mortgage application is very user-friendly and very intuitive, we all get those clients that struggle with it. Like they're struggling to complete an app, they're struggling to upload docs. If you run into one of those scenarios, you can say, hey, you know what? It might be easier if we just share screens really quickly. I can walk you through the process. So you can click on this screen share link. And you're going to say, all right, you also have a link on the side of your screen that says share screen. Can you click on that for me? And theirs looks just like this. And at any point, whether they're on the application or they're in the portal uploading docs, that share screen button is always going to be right there on the side of their screen. So when the client clicks that, it will actually generate a code. You can say, can you please give me that code? And now I can see what the client is doing, and I can say, hey, right here, click the button that says I'm refinancing, or right here is where it's asking you to upload your tax returns. So hopefully you guys don't need to use the screen share functionality very often, but in the rare instances when you do, it is a massive time saver between going back and forth, trading phone calls with clients, but more importantly, from a customer service standpoint, it's much less frustrating for both you and the client when they are struggling to upload docs or struggling to navigate the application. It's a much easier process to be like, just right here, click here. And when I'm like clicking my mouse, see that little dot that appears? they are seeing that as well. So they're actually seeing my cursor as I'm moving it around like this on their screen. So you can guide them as to what to do. Now you can't do any data entry on their behalf, but you can guide them through the process. But that is pretty much the basic gist of how to use Power VP and all of its core basic functionalities. I went through that really quickly, and I know I talk really fast because I did want to reserve some time at the end of the call if you guys did have any questions. Alexis, was there anything else that you feel like I may have overlooked that we should kind of cover on the demo for these guys before we open up the floor to questions?
I think you covered everything. Overall, there's a lot of information, so they might need time to digest as to, I guess, do you guys need to re-review anything that we went over? Since there was a lot.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. So on the smart underwriting, when it populates the buckets for the client, it seems like it's duplicating. I mean, like, let's say that they've got a joint bank account, but it's asking both the borrower and the borrower's wife to both upload bank statements. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong on the app where it's triggering that for both of them to upload it. But for the smart underwriting to happen, if all those buckets have to be fulfilled, then does that mean we're double uploading bank statements into those buckets? Or am I doing something wrong on the app side that's causing it to dual request documents?
So when they're applying online, it's like they're the ones that are adding the asset accounts. So if there's a condition for a specific bank statement that's being tagged, if they're both being requested for it, it's because they both added, it's because of the data entry point when they were applying. So like when I'm filling out my info, it's like, yeah, I've got a, Chase checking with 10 grand in it. And then my wife also puts Chase checking with 10 grand. That will be duplicative. Like they'll both have that task to do on their to-do list. But if they only add the asset to one of them, there's only going to be that one task. You can always though go in. Let me pull up that Andy America file again. If there is a duplicate task, you can also always go in and, like, let's just use the divorce decree. Let's say it's on both. If you want to remove a task, and this goes for any task, you can always just click hide from borrower and it removes it out of the to-do list.
But is that going to affect the smart underwriting process? Because then it's not fulfilled, or?
No, if you hide a task, you're basically removing it from the process.
Okay.
Brian, is there a way to add like a referral partner in there? Like when you're sending out the digital mortgage, is there a way that like a referral partner is getting CC'd on that so they know that, hey, this person's reached out, we're now sending a loan application for them to complete?
It does not. No, I mean, you could CC them when you're sending the app out. Here, let me go back to the main landing page. So when I'm sending that out, I could CC anybody that I want, but no, it's right now you do not have the ability to tag in a referral partner into the loan directly from the app. I think that I can let Alexa speak to it. I think that may be in the roadmap for referral partners down the road, but right now it's all you would be able to do is CC them into it.
You're correct, Brian.
Is there a way to text the borrower?
Missed this, but is there a link that we can send to a referral partner so that they can send that out versus our standard signature apply now link?
So Power VP is a way of inviting them to your digital mortgage. So if you're having a referral partner refer, I would probably just give them the link to your website. But there isn't a way. Power VP is a loan officer facing app. It's not a consumer facing app. So if you do have referral partners that are like, fill out an application for my guy Tim, I would just have them send the direct link to your website to do that, because when I'm inviting from Power VP, I'm just this is just a vehicle to get them onto my digital mortgage application. It's not the actual application itself.
I was asking about that just for the purposes of tracking, but if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
getting a regular link anyway, this is push pull with Encompass, so it's going to get entered into here at some point anyway, right?
It will, yeah. So any loan that's in Encompass, it's available in your pipeline. And so any file that's in Encompass, it's gonna be in Power VP as well.
So on our, and I don't know what's happening on the build out that you mentioned for adding some of that functionality on. So the company we just came from used Simple Nexus, and the realtors could download the Simple Nexus app to their phone, and then they would actually be able to view all of, like, let's say they have 5 pre-approved clients and 5 that are not pre-approved yet. They'd be able to actually see those 10 clients in their app. And like, let's say that they needed the pre-approval letter, they could just go into the app and pull it through that way. And then they can see, what they're approved for, like all of that info through the app. Is any of that kind of functionality going to be in the build out that's being released, or?
No, nothing, no integrating with an outside system for agents or referrals.
But it wasn't an outside system. It was basically the same app
Right,
system
yeah,
that the
Power
clients were
VP is
using,
only internal facing though, so we wouldn't give it to anyone outside.
Okay.
What else, guys?
Can you show me again what the create and send PAL was?
Yeah. So that is pre-approval letter. So if I click on create, and that's kind of why I didn't go into these other tiles other than start loan, because I covered all of those when I was in an individual loan. But if I click create and send pre-approval letter, that'll bring up some of my recent files, or I could just go in the search box, search for the borrower's name, address, whatever, pull the borrower up. And that puts me back into that pre-approval queue where I'm generating a pre-approval letter for the client. So same process yep.
Is there Brian, is there a area where you can show us, like, when a borrower is filling out that application where it's asking for VOA information?
So you're not going to see that in Power VP, because Power VP is only a loan officer facing app. When a client is applying online, it's at their final step. The final step is there's a blanket authorization that they're going to select, and after they select that, if like it's going to give us a blanket authorization for us to pull credit. It's going to give us authorization to run AUS. It's going to give us authorization to verify their employment. At that point, when they get their to-do list, on their to-do list, part of that is going to be let's verify your assets. And so they'll have the option, like the default way to verify assets is to do the asset verification. If they don't want to do that, they'll then be prompted to select. It'll say like you can either verify it this way by giving us your account information, or if they select no, it'll be like, all right, we can do this the old-fashioned way and upload a bank statement. But you're not actually going to see that through this app. That's just part of their to-do list, and it would be down here. I can show you what the task looks like though. So it's like provide assets using our secure online portal. And so like this is what the task looks like to them. And then they enter their bank account information, but we don't actually see see it in real time when they're entering the account information to pull the asset verification.
So you can go back and re-request, say they submit an application and you want to see if they'll input that to reach like same day mortgage green check mark status or whatever, you can re-request that to them.
Yes.
But only if they submit the app. If we type it in on the phone with them, there's no way to order that VOA, correct?
No, you absolutely can. You absolutely can. Send the, you can all, you can, we can verify assets, no matter how the borrower applies, whether they do it online or you take an app over the phone. We absolutely can request the VOA.
Can you show me what that is?
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
yeah. But it's right here. Now, as far as the authorization, we do need that authorization at that point.
So say you
Is
have
there
an
any
app already in Power VP, Brian.
Yeah.
I think what Todd's asking is if he's got an app in there, but he's now at a stage where he's wanting to review that, but he wants that asset information. Is there a way we can, like, say we're on the phone with them and we verbally get their account numbers, logins to link that?
The initiation to link the account, that's always going to have to come from the borrower. You're never going to be able to initiate that. Like the initiation for the asset verification is always going to come from them. Let me pull up a link for the automated assets. Bear with me one second, so you guys can have the full policy.
I'm assuming that's only available at certain financial institutions, like not going to hit some of your smaller credit unions, things like that, or
most are. You'd be surprised how comprehensive the list is. It's
okay.
It covers, I forget the statistic, but it's like 98% of financial institutions are available.
Right.
Let me find this really quickly. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in the chat, and this is basically a link for all of our validation tools, the automated assets, which we pull through two different sources, Account Check and Finicity. Kind of all the policies and procedures are in there, but yeah, bottom line, it's whether it's a verification of employment or verification of assets, we can absolutely do that later. Whether whether the app was done online or manually, the procedures to do so are spelled out right here.
Is there any way to get the borrower off to auto fire out when they're filling out the app instead of waiting until disclosure? 'Cause I'd say, I don't know. I mean, maybe 30% of our applications, we end up needing a verification of employment of some sort to verify commissions, bonuses, whatever. Right now, it looks like the only way to do that is to send out a DocuSign to them to have them sign it. Like, is there any way just to build that in so that it fires off when they submit applications so that we have it?
So if they apply online, if they do the online application, the final step is there's a button that's saying, I am giving you authorization to run my credit, run AUS, and verify X, Y, and Z. And one of that is including the income verification. We don't, there is a water, it will, if they check that box, the income verification will automatically start. There's like a waterfall of what brand of income verification happens. Obviously the work number being the most expensive, that's always going to be the kind of the last line of defense. It's going to try, we've got two other vendors that are a little bit more cost effective, that it's going to attempt to do those right off the bat. So there is an automation that will start those income verifications, but if it's not available through one of those, at that point the work number becomes an option later on. But all of that's also sped out in that link that I just sent you under for the validation tools. Let me, here is there's a kind of there's a document on here that kind of walks you through that waterfall of how they're ordered, of how and when these are ordered. Let me just find this really quickly. Yeah, these are all focused on work number. I got to find that document that walks through the waterfall. I know it's posted on the resource center here somewhere. Bear with me 1 second. You have to give me a minute. I'll send that as a follow-up link in the chat. Some stuff got moved around on the automated income section on our resource center. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, I'll have to find that document for you. But there is I think it might be a short slide deck that walks through how the waterfall, whether it goes through phonicity or trickles down to the work number, and at what point those get triggered. But but there is automation built around income verification, but the automated ones that fire automatically, it is from the more cost-effective providers. And then work number is always going to be, if we do have to go down the route of ordering it from work number, that's always going to be a manual process, typically done by your processor, because there is a significant cost per order on that particular brand of income verification. All right, guys. I know we're getting near the top of the hour here. What other questions do you guys have for us?
If we ever run into issues, Brian, can we just like ping you on Teams, like we don't know what we don't know yet type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know this call, my demo ran the full hour. Kind of one of the, that's also what this forum is for, where you can bring, if you're play with this for the next week and you have questions, you can always bring it back. You can also reach out to myself directly if it's a Power VP question. It's kind of a team of us, myself, Alexis, Jason Stitzman. We're more than happy to answer your questions directly. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me if you do have any questions. But going forward with these calls, we'll have a lot more time set aside for I know it's on your calendar as open forum, to treat this as a true open forum. Just today's call, it's a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover on Power VP and on a 1 hour call. So I unfortunately didn't have a ton of time left over for you, but that's also the purpose of these calls. And also, you can also send emails to that. I actually am on the phone a lot doing demos like this. You can also reach out to that live loan support inbox. And we've got what we call our CVP team, who are active licensed loan officers who use these tools all day, every day. They're more than happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Well, I know that was a mouthful to listen to me talk that long and that fast for an hour, but I just highly encourage you to play with the app as much as you can. I've been involved with several groups who in divisions that joined our companies that came from a background where they had zero experience using Encompass, zero experience, obviously, with Power VP because it's proprietary. And so they had to learn both systems simultaneously. And when we look at them versus other users within the organizations, those groups that learn both systems at the same time, we find that they are the highest users of Power VP, and they actually spend more time in the app than they actually do in Encompass. So I encourage you to play with it and familiarize yourself with it as much as possible. You will find that a lot of what you're doing, you can do it there and you can do it faster. And the other thing I forgot to mention is I can have 20 instances of this up on my desktop at the same time. So maybe I'm neck deep on a really complicated file trying to, bond loan or VA, trying to make it work in Encompass, but I get a quick call about something on another file. I can just throw Power VP up on my screen, dive in, answer a quick question, and then get back to what I was doing. And I can, as you can see, I can add another instance to it right next to it. So I can have like 50 of these scenarios up on my screen. It's not going to slow anything down. So that's another key takeaway, is you can use this as a complement to Encompass as well. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming to this week's call. We'll be back next week. If there's anything you guys want to go over on next week's call, by all means, reach out to us and let us know what those topics are, and we can kind of address it beforehand. But otherwise, I'll see you next week. Bring any and all questions that you have. And thanks for coming today.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
Thank you.